Hello, all you bulls, cows, and calves. Welcome to Wild Thing Art Academy. And today, we're going to be painting Stretch the giraffe. Unique and interesting name. For your information, bulls are male giraffes, cows are female giraffes, and calves are the baby giraffes. So, in the downloads, you should have received a template to download and transfer onto your canvas. If you're not sure how to transfer your image onto the canvas, go to collections, the collections tab, and in that collections tab there is a video called how to transfer your image onto the canvas. Follow along and then rejoin. If you want to freehand stretch onto your canvas, by all means feel free to do so. This is your art class, this is your painting, and this is a time to invite your artistic inner muse to come out. So come on out and let it play. The only rule in Wild Thing Art Academy is to set aside your inner critic, let it go for now, and let the artistic muse come out, because you were born to create. So let's create something beautiful. All right, so you've got your template in the downloads in the Wild Thing Art Academy, and then here is the photo reference. It is a cute giraffe. In this photo, I got it off of a royalty-free site, so it's free to use. I took out the background because there was other giraffes in the backgrounds, and I saturated the color a lot. So I think it's at like 100% saturated. So as you can see, when I did that, it really brought out some blues and some pinks and lots of Indian yellow was what I use in this class. So let's get started. Take a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so here we go. So here's my paints. I'm using Golden Brand Quinacridone Magenta, Golden Brand Phthalo Blue, red shade. I'm using Liquitex Indian Yellow. I'm using Liquitex brand Titanium White and Liquitex brand Black. I'm going to also be throwing some more colors in that, so be prepared, because who knows what colors I'll use. I'll just grab them as we go along. Whatever the artistic side says grab, that's what I'll grab. So looking at the giraffe, I'm going to do what I do a lot of times. We're going to go ahead and outline this giraffe in the magenta, so the dark pink. If you do not have these colors, again, in Wild Thing Art Academy, the supply list is in the link below for downloads. And there's also a budget supply list if you want to not spend the money on these expensive paints. Totally understand. You can get similar effects with a lot less expensive paints. So there's the Wild Thing budget supply list. So if you've got a thicker paint like I do, I'm going to I just wet my brush down and I'm going to twirl it around just like this in the magenta. So if you're not using Golden Brand Quinacridone Magenta, just use a dark pink or whatever color fits your fancy. And we're going to cover up these graphite lines with this magenta. So go ahead and we're going to take this time and cover these graphite lines. And he has a lot of unique patterns, and I found out, if you were with me last week, we painted a zebra. And in researching fun facts out about zebras, zebra stripes are unique. Each pattern is as unique as your thumbprint, so their pattern stripe is like a thumbprint for us. Same with a zebra, I just found out, is that their patterns are also each one unique and individual for that giraffe, and it's like their thumbprint as well. So go ahead and just take the time and cover those lines up with the magenta. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on, first off, covering the canvas with paint when we're done with this. He has a little forehead right here that I'm tracing in. I thought a little bump on his forehead that designates his forehead. And then his eyelashes were or his, not his eyelashes, his eyelids. Can't get the word out. Or he's got quite hooded eyelids, which are adorable. Makes him look a little sleepy in my opinion. And I am painting him. I didn't say what I was painting on, did I? I am painting on a 9x12 canvas panel. So just a simple canvas panel. If you don't have a canvas panel or any canvases, feel free to paint on paper using watercolor or whatever gouache, whatever medium that you want. A friend of mine, she is using foam boards. She cut foam boards in the sizes that she wanted, and she adjusts the pattern to fit that foam board, and it seems to be working really well for her. So if you have any questions while I'm painting, feel free to ask. I love to interact. I may not look up for a while or notice your questions, but if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. In Wild Thing Art Academy, it's all about capturing the essence of that animal. And if you've seen my other works or have done my other classes, you'll know that I changed the colors up because it's called Wild Thing. I like to bring out personalities, big, bold personalities in animals by changing their colors up. So for instance, a lot of times I use blue, a dark blue for the blacks. And I'm trying to make sure I get his little pinks for the red. And I like to add pops of vibrant fluorescent colors. My two favorite colors are the Golden Brand fluorescent pinks and the fluorescent orange. And I always add those to my paintings as well. So just cover your giraffe up, his lines up. And again, if you're freehanding it, just freehand it in the magenta. I don't always use a pattern, but for the sake of these classes, or a template rather, but for the sake of these classes, I do a pattern so that anyone can paint. So if you choose to freehand stretch onto your canvas, perfectly fine. If you choose to use the template that I provided and like what I'm doing, that is perfectly fine too. Remember, there are no rules when it comes to art. They will tell you there's rules, but there's no rules. So keep that in mind. Don't let anyone tell you. And what you're creating is a unique expression of how you see the world. And so there is no wrong. And I choose to say I see the world in big, bright colors. And so that's how I'm going to paint my paintings. When I saturated the photo, I just took the color saturation and just really saturated it. Like I said, I think I did 100% is what I saturated it on. And when I did that, it brought out all the beautiful colors that I want to paint. So I was real thrilled when I did that. And I got man glasses on, so they're sliding down my face. So there's his little mane right here. I'm going to make it a little squiggly. Sometimes I like to use, it's not in the supply list, but sometimes I like to use some wetting agent in my water. I just squirt a little bit in my cleaning water and then mix that around. And it seems to help with the flow of the paints. Just a little helpful hint here. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some little artistic, although their manes aren't real curly or flowy. Just seems like a short little mohawk down their neck. And almost done here. All right, now that we've got him covered, I'm assuming it's a him. I don't know. I don't know if you can tell the difference between a male or a female giraffe. I'm not real sure. But now I'm going to dive into the phthalo blue. After I drink a cup of some coffee there. Gonna have my go juice. All right, let's get into some phthalo blue, and I'm just going to grab a little flat brush like this size. And this says it's a number 5. It's a cheap little flat brush that I got at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. It's been through the mill, and I'm going to moisten this with a little water, and I'm going to dip it into my phthalo blue, and I'm going to go ahead and find the shaded area. That I mean the dark areas. So his eyes are going to be phthalo blue. The nose holes, the tops of his, whatever those things are, kind of like horns, but I don't know if that's official, and those areas here, and some of his spots, and I'll show you why when we get started with more layers. So I'm going to fill in his eyes. Now, eyes are real important when it comes to the animals. We really want to capture life in these eyes, and so they're real important. So this inner hole right here, this inner circle right here, was to designate the depth of the nostril there. Now he really isn't showing a mouth there, but I know he's got one right in the corner here. He's kind of slanted. I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake of, it's my giraffe, and it's your giraffe, you can do whatever. And there's shading right here. That's what this was designated for. And shading right there. So the light is kind of, so we're going to try looking. Am I delayed a little bit? Yes, I am. So my voice, it looks like on my report as I'm looking at my monitor that I might be delayed just a little bit in talking. All right, so let's paint that shadow here. There's a little shadow around that ear, and there's shadow right here in a lighter blue, but I'm going to put the darker blue in for now, just to give it a base coat. And then same with this over here. little bit of shadow areas there, there. And then I'm going to go down here. He's got some dark under his eyes, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in with this blue. A little bit right there. So anywhere I'm seeing dark, and his wrinkles too. And I'm using the edge of my brush, the very edge of this, to do his wrinkles, so the little depths of his wrinkles here. I'm just going over the magenta lines. And then the tops of his little, whatever these thingies are, horns? Oh, I don't know. I guess since they're called bulls and cows, it's kind of it's a bovine name, so I don't know if they're related to cows or not. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this shadow area in right there, and then right there. All right, and then I'm going to go down here. Now in the picture, there's no shadow under his chin, but I'm going to create one for the sake of art and the way it appears. I'm going to go ahead and put a little shadow right there, as if his head is creating a little shadow. And then I'm looking at his spots, and he has some dark areas in those spots. So I'm going to go ahead and put some blue in some of those spots. And it's, again, just for the darker areas, and we're going to be laying a lot of color on top of it. So this here is where the light is going. So I want to think about how I'm placing this. And then I'm going to get it over here into this main area, and I'm just going to simply shadow the crease there between his neck and his mane, and then again in some of these spots. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a artistic touch right down there. All right. So now let's take a look at his, a little bit right around his nose here. A little bit up in his face there, so that's just awesome. Okay. All right, let's dive back into the magenta, and we're going to go in and we're going to fill in the rest of those spots. Let's see if I get a little bigger brush. I'm going to grab a little bit bigger of a brush here just to fill in some of those spots. And it's again, it's just a little cheap. It says it's a number 8. kind of a filbert style brush. And I'm going to go into the magenta. And we're going to start filling in some of these spots. Now some of these, I'm going to put the pink over that blue. And you'll see why once I start laying the Indian yellow on top of this. And then just kind of put that. You want to think about also the shape of the giraffe. Like, what are you painting? And the shape of it. So thinking about how the giraffe is formed, and then taking your paint and trying to create shape with your paint. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fill all these spots in down here in the magenta. Right on top of that blue. And if the blue is still a little wet, it creates a beautiful purple, which I love. And there's creating a little purple. And here as well. So filling in the rest of the spots here. And I like to give this a little bit of a and I'm going to go ahead and fill his mane in just a little with some of this magenta. And anywhere else, let's see. Make sure I didn't bump him out of the way. All right, so now let's take a look at, bring that shadow down just a little bit. So I'm going to get back in the blue. I just want to create more of the shape of that face. There we go. That's a little better. Like a shadow, more of a realistic shadow on the shape of his face. All right. So I'm cleaning out my brush, and I'm going to dip into the Indian yellow now. So the whole purpose of this first part is to fill in base layers. So I'm going to clean my brush out. And now when I'm looking at the giraffe, I see a whole lot of Indian yellow. So I'm going to go ahead now. That again, this photograph has been really saturated. So in real life, it's white, but I'll show you as we start to finish and put in. Let's see. I want to keep this side more of a white. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of avoid this side of his face more. And we want to make sure the blue is dry, because mixing the yellow and the blue will create a green, and we don't want that right now. And I'm looking, that's probably, it's still a little wet right here. Let's see, yeah, that's a little wet. So what I'll do is I'll avoid that for right at the moment and go back in here. I'm gonna go right on top of that, as long as that blue is dry. And the magenta's still pretty wet, so let's move down here. And then right at the tip of his nose. I'm going to fill in these spots here on his face. And then what I'm going to do here is I want to get in a lot of yellow, and we're going to be filling in that with white as well. But I want to put yellow, this Indian yellow here to cover the rest of this canvas. And I'm going over the spots and everything, because as you can see, the Indian yellow is pretty transparent, and so that color shines through. And then if my paint doesn't flow off of my brush like I want it to, then I put a little water on it. And then I'm going to go on top of this mane here. Just like that. Let's see here if I can put that right here yet. It's a little better. All right, I'm going to clean my brush out, and what I'm going to do now is I'm seeing where the white is on this face, a lot of light blue. So I'm going to create a light blue once my brush is cleaned out. I'm going to get my smaller flat brush that I was using just a little earlier, and that makes sure yeah, I'm still a little delayed on my sound, I see. Okay. So I'm getting my little flat brush like this, and I'm going to wet it down just a bit. I'm going to make a light blue, so I'm going to take this here and some white and make a light blue. And that's still too dark, so I'm going to take another little clump right here, make a lighter blue that way. And that's good enough. And I'm going to fill in this area here. So I've got too much paint on my brush because I want that to dry. Remember, this is the undercoating of the giraffe. And so I want just a thin coat so it dries. This kind of goes up into a peak here. And then a little bit here. And we're going to go a little bit on top of this eyelid here. And same with this eyelid as well. All right, so now I'm seeing this light blue in the ears here. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. And then I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of that down through here, as if the light was bouncing off of him. Just a touch there. And he has some right up here at the top as well. Okay, now that we've got that laid in, we're going to work on those eyes. So we've got him based in. So let's move to his eye area. And let's work on that. So he has, looks like beautiful brown eyes. So we're going to go ahead and you really can't see his pupil in here, but they look round. So I'm going to go ahead and just, it's got a nice, beautiful, dark and do those wrinkles under. He's got some like a nice eyeliner under those eyes. I'm going to go over here and do the same with this one. Well, he's got pretty eyes. And I'm just going to kind of make sure we get that eyelid in there. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that for the time being. So let's go ahead and make up some orange, and that would be the magenta and this Indian yellow. So mix that up, and we're gonna just a little bit, because I really don't want a lot of color in these. Just a little bit to designate some color there. And then as I go along, I'll go ahead and add more color to it. So in the meantime, I see a really cool though yellow highlight in those eyes that I think I'm going to go ahead and put in. So let's go ahead and make a nice yellow there. And I'm not sure if I don't want to use a fluorescent yellow. I can find it. No, I think I'm going to stick with a warm yellow. And put just a little yellow. It's got just like that. And I like that yellow there, but what I want to do is emphasize it just a bit. So I'm going to take my liner brush here and go into just the straight Indian yellow and add just there. Better. Now at this point I like to add the highlight. So that was a quick and easy eye. And I'm cleaning my little flat brush out, this little flat brush here, and I'm going to make the highlight. So I'm going to go back into this light blue. Real light blue. And I'm going to create a highlight that curves around his eye. So this is a real important part here. So you just curve around like that. And then another like that. And I'll probably, let me take some of that back out. So if you make a mistake, no worries. I'm going to take my liner brush and go back into the black. I'm going to take some of that out just a touch, because that's just a little too much. That's better. It's not so stark. I'm going to do the same thing with this eye. Okay, that's better. So those eyes look a little better. And again, when I get into the fluorescence, that will really make those eyes pop. So I'm going to grab the end of my brush, this right here, and I'm going to go ahead and dip it into the paint just like this. Make sure I don't get too much. And I'm going to create that little highlight just like that and like that. So he's looking at us. So we brought some life to his eyes. And now let's move up to his ears. So time for the ears. And I see a lot of pinks and lavenders in those ears. So let's see what we come up with. I'm going to grab my flat brush that I was just working with. And I'm going to make a kind of a pink and a light pink and a lavender right here. And I'm going to add some white. And I'm kind of liking that color. So let's go with it. All right, so I'm seeing pink all right here. And a little pink right there. And a little pink in the wispy hairs here. And a little pink right there. And then I'm seeing pink up here as well. And a little pink right there. And with this pink, seeing a little bit in those hairs right there too. I'm just seeing some pink accents here. And that little pink in that eyelid area, and a touch of pink right there. And a little pink right here on his little cheek right there. Okay, enough of that pink. Let's go back up to his ears. And I see blues and yellows. So let's go ahead and let's put in the yellow, since the blue and the yellow mix will make up green. So let's go ahead and add that yellow in, and I'm going to lighten this Indian yellow with some white. Just like this, and I'm going to go ahead and put in that color right there, and then a little color here. again, thinking about the direction of your giraffe, how he's formed, and thinking about that. So let's move down. Let's see, there's a little black yellow right up here, and this eye right here kind of goes around like so. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that nose. Let's move down to the nose area, and let's put some of that yellow in the nose here. Really pop his nose out a bit. Okay. Now, I think, let me take a look here. I think it's time to move into, make sure if there's anything. I want to add some of that lighter blue, but it hasn't already dried up yet, to the side of this face here. And a little swoop there in the ear, and the same with that. Little swoop there. All right, now let's go in and let's go into our white. And I'm going to grab the number 8 little filbert scrubby brush. And I think it's time to dive into the white. So I'm going to go with the pure white, and it's getting, and I like it thick, so I'm going to go in pretty thick, and I'm going to start laying white on top of some of these areas here. I'm going to go in these ears and make up some of that here. And then I'm going to move down here and add some of this white down here into the areas that I had laid that yellow in, and the white on top of that yellow, the yellow kind of glows underneath that white. And it starts to shine underneath that white. Okay, I'm kind of liking the peaks of yellow back here because it kind of gives it a more uniform look. So then I'm going to go back over his spots. So I'm going to make a nice orange. I'm cleaning out my brush, and I'm going to take my Indian yellow and make me an orange here. And I'm going to go back over some of these spots here. And he has quite a few. I'm going to add a little bit more magenta to that color. Yeah, that's better. And then add in some of these spots back in where I lost them. And remember, his spots are unique to him. So if you don't get his spots correct, that's perfectly fine. right. I am cleaning out my brush, and I am going to get in some magenta teal blue. So what I have is the Golden Brand teal. I'm going to shake it up, and we're going to add some touches here of this. Just a little bit there on the palette, maybe getting into some more. And I'm going to go in with this little brush, little flat brush. Make sure it's clean. And I'm going to go in and add some touches here. Just like that. All right, I think it's time to get the fluorescence out. So this is my favorite part, and I'm going to start with the pink. So I'm going with Golden Brand Fluorescent Pink, and I'm going to give it a nice little shake here. And I'm going to start adding some nice touches here. And it's that I grabbed the unopened one. Grab this one. Again, I'm going to grab my little flat brush, get into this pink, and let's see what kind of trouble I can get into with that. Oh, that's lovely. And unfortunately on the camera, this pink doesn't show up as vibrant as what it does in real life. And I always like to add these fluorescents to the eye because it's so pretty. I'm going to add that on top of this, that orange there, because I'm just not real happy with the color. Of those spots. So Okay, now let's grab some orange. And the orange to me adds sunshine. So I love the, it's like sunshine. So it's golden fluorescent orange is what I'm using. Oops, that was a lot. I did not need that much. But let's see what trouble we can get into with this. So here we go. Let's go ahead and put some sunshine right there. And some sunshine in his ears. A little on that nose. And I know this in the photo, the hairs look kind of pink, but I'm going to go ahead and it just makes him glow, that orange does. And I'm going to add orange to those spots as well. And then because it looks like sunlight, I'm going to add it just to the top part of his mane. All right, let's take a look here. And what color do these two make? I've never mixed those colors before. Let's see what we get into. Well, that's an interesting lavender. Oh, that's kind of pretty. See what we can do in these. Kind of going into any areas I want to define because that's kind of a oh yeah, I like that for the shadow area. Yeah, that's good. And then not overdoing it too much. Okay, that's looking good. I'm happier with that. see this shadow red. And I'm cleaning my brush out because underneath this eye right here, I'm seeing a lot of yellow, the Indian yellow. So I'm going to go back and make sure. All right. Let's take our liner brush and let's add some ear hair. And the ear hair looks kind of pinky lavender, but I'm going to go in because it's for the sake of painting. I'm just going to do it in white and see if I can't get these little ears to look a little bit more wispier. Same with this. And then I don't see any. Go ahead and it's got a little bit of a white of an eye right there. I want to take some of that out. That was a harsh line and I didn't like it. Same with that. That's a little harsh around the nose. So I'm taking that back out. And I'm going to go back in with the black and I'm going to emphasize the nose holes just a bit here. So I'm looking at the photo and the shape of that. So it kind of goes that. Okay. And then I clean my brush out and I'm gonna go back into this dark blue and re-emphasize some of these contours in the ear. Kind of lost them. And then I'll have to go back in and put the and I'm just going down through his neck where it curves around into his mane and kind of re-emphasizing that as well. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and define his face a little bit more with this blue. just to add a little more interest. And redefining those eyes. So just redefining, making sure everything is defined. I'm going to take this brush here and go back into my white and add some pops of white, making sure that he does have some white. And I like to blur some edges. To me, it gives more interest if you blur the edges just a bit. So that's what I was doing there, was taking some swipes of white and blurred some hard lines. Right there. And I'm just bringing out some white, more white. And then again, bringing that hair back out. Okay. And when I did that, I kind of lost some of his eyelid, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to go back in with the blue, the phthalo blue, and I'll just re-emphasize that eyelid. Because he's got a pretty thick eyelid on that. And then I'm redefining just a few little lines I want to bring out again. A little bit of wispies on the hair. And I think we're nearing completion of him. Let me go back in with the white. A lot of water in this to really thin this white. Let's go in and there, soften those lines there. This light, let's take this turquoise blue and some of this white, make a white, and let's put a little sheen on this eye right here. Yeah. I think stretch is almost done. Okay, I think stretch is almost done. Let me take a look. One final look. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and, after looking at the photo some, put some of that hot blue right there. It's got a pretty, and right there. And it's almost that lavendery color too. Kind of in the tip right there. One thing I haven't got in is his wrinkles, but I might be okay with that. Let me see what it looks like if I use the blue. What color I want to use? Let's try it. It's got these wrinkles all. Let's see. Putting all these wrinkles back in. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Some underneath his eyes here. He's got some wrinkles that come up. Okay, I think I'm good with that, and I believe stretch is completed. So let's take a look. So sometimes if you are not sure about your painting, take a step back, take a photo of it. Sometimes you can spot something in a photo that you didn't spot earlier, and see what you think. See if anything stands out to you. And right now, nothing's really standing out a whole lot to me, but I'm going to give it a rest and decide. But I think that stretch is done. If anything, his nose right there, maybe that white, maybe a little bit more blended, just a touch. That's a little better, just this kind of, and it's kind of still standing out to me, so I may take some yellow and blend that just a little bit. Okay, that's better. That's not quite, although then it made something else stand out, which is this right here. All right, that is better for now, but I may work on that because all I see is this big swoop. So let me, you know what? I'm gonna fix it. Go ahead and there, that broke that up a little bit. Let me try a little bit more. Better. Okay, it's not standing out. And then at some point something else might stand out. So I want you to remember that your stretch is different than any other stretch, and that is a good thing because you were meant to create, and only you can create what you just created. So keep that in mind anytime you create something. Let your inner critic go. Know that what you are creating is something unique and authentic to you, just like the giraffe's prints or like his thumbprints. No giraffe has the same print. No one has the same stretch giraffe that you do, and that's a good thing because this painting is like your thumbprint. So honor that process, honor that uniqueness that only you can do, which is this creation. And I want you to take a moment, take a big deep breath, and then I want you to congratulate yourself. Great job. You just painted Stretch and you did a fabulous job. So I want you to just enjoy this. I want you to frame Stretch, sign him with your name, put your unique signature on him, sign him with your name, and then hang him somewhere you love, give him to somebody you love. Do whatever you want to with Stretch, but honor this beautiful creation that you just did. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next class. Bye.